right, I think we're going to get started. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us for our Nashville Zoo Take a Break with Jake here on Facebook. I'm really excited today because we're going to introduce you, or maybe reintroduce some of you, to our Chilean Flamingo flock. These are some of our amazing ambassador animals here at the zoo, and I get to work with these chicks every day that I'm here, and they are pretty much one of the best parts of my job. So I'm excited to share them with y'all. I'm going to tell you a little bit about these birds, and then we'll open it up for questions towards the end, and Kelsey will help answer a lot of those questions with me. So, Chilean flamingos are one of 6 species of flamingos that live on our Earth. They're widespread all over. They're found on every continent except Australia and Antarctica. So they're found everywhere. And the Chilean flamingo in particular is found, obviously, in Chile. They're found down in South America, really on the western part of the continent, and in Chile and Argentina in the southern region. So they're found in a pretty wide range of habitats, but they're always including salt water. Flamingos, especially the Chilean flamingo, rely on salty water to get a lot of their food, which I can talk about a little bit later. But their environments are really harsh. So as you look around our yard here, this is their outdoor holding. They have an indoor space that they can be in throughout the day as well, and then they come and get locked inside at night. This may not look like much. It's not pretty like our Caribbean flamingo exhibit that we were at a week or two ago. That's because Chilean flamingos don't really live in like lush green habitats. They're typically found in these salty areas that are kind of devoid of a lot of other vegetation, and they're pretty harsh and unforgiving. We actually have a blog post up on the Nashville Zoo blog from one of our flamingo keepers who went down to South America a couple years back, and she has some pictures, and it's really like barren landscapes. It almost looks like what you would imagine like the moon looking like. It's very desolate and dry, but the flamingos live there, and they are well adapted to surviving in that kind of habitat. So I mentioned the flamingo species, where they're found. They're a little different from one another. The Caribbean flamingos that we have here at the zoo stand over 5 feet tall. And then the Chilean flamingos that are right here, although they're still young, they're pretty much as tall as they will get. And they stand maybe about 3.5 feet tall is our tallest one. That's Ghost right there in the center. So that's about as big as they get. They all the flamingo species have that characteristic pink color that we know and love. But before you try to call me out and be like, those flamingos aren't pink, that's because these are chicks. Flamingo chicks hatch out white and then turn gray and white and black, and spend their lives being that color for up to 3 years. It takes almost 3 years to get their full pink coloration in. But once they get that, the Chilean flamingo is not as vibrant a coral pink as our Caribbean flamingos that you may have seen on exhibit before, but they are a really pretty pale pink all over. And then you can actually see on Ghost right there, Kelsey, as he's turning, well, and really anybody else who's turning around, you can see some of their bright red feathers sticking out closer to their bottom here. And so they do have some really pretty feathers already, but because they're all just about 9 months of age, it's going to take a while for them to get fully pink. So flamingos filter feed their food from the water. They are kind of doing it over here in the pool. Cayenne is over there showing off that curved bill. She's going to turn it back and forth and pump really quickly to stir up any sediment, stir up any food that might be in the water. And then there are tiny little, almost like serrations on their beak that are called lamellae, which is a really fancy word, but it basically means they have little serrations on their beaks, and you can see it there with a he. And those lamellae help filter those tiny plants and animals that they love to eat out of the water. They eat a lot of plankton and krill and algae, and they get all of those things from the salty water where they live. This is Poblano. He's the best flamingo. Right? You're the best. Yeah. Such a cute baby. Flamingos can live upwards of 50 years in human care. It's a really long time. So these babies still have a long life ahead of all of them, which is really exciting. Are you gonna move?
Yeah, I'm gonna move a little.
You got some flamingos surrounding you.
Yeah, I'm a little surrounded. It's fine. It's fine.
Flamingos don't have a lot of predators out in the wild. The chicks are especially susceptible to predation, so things like hawks, owls, and eagles might try to eat them. But because they live in these really barren landscapes, there aren't a lot of other animals that live there that might try to eat the flamingos. So they're kind of good on the predator front. As long as they can make it to adulthood, they typically have a good chance of living their entire full life. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? We can talk about our individual birds now. So the one right in front of you, Kelsey, this is our oldest chick. Her name is Aji. That's spelled A-J-I. And that is the Spanish word for chili pepper. All of our birds are named after different peppers. So we have Aji. Directly to your left is Chilaka. That's one of our small females. Hi, Chilaka. Nibbling on my leg here is Poblano, the best one. Hi, buddy.
And that's a fact, not an opinion?
That's a fact, not an opinion, yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Over here with the purple band, that's Jalapeno. Paprika is right here with the blue band. Hi. Are you hot? She's like letting off some of the excess heat. You could stand in the shade, but I guess...
I'm here, so maybe not.
Ghost is right here. He's our tallest and our most
in the back?
colored. Right here next to me. And then behind him is Habanero, who's kind of our second biggest boy. And then all the way back there, doing her own thing, is Cayenne. I have this special soft spot for Cayenne. Really? I don't know why. She kind of does her own thing. She doesn't really like attention. She doesn't like being with us like some of the other birds do. I like her for that. That's a side note. So all of these chicks came to us as eggs from a couple different zoos. We worked with the Memphis Zoo and Zoo Atlanta to get eggs in. And then we hatched them out in incubators with the help of our avian team, and then hand raised them so that they could be used to people and could get really well acquainted with everything going on here at the zoo. What they're doing right now is preening, and that's a good way for them to socialize with one another and with us. So typically they're with other birds that have feathers, and so they'll pick at each other's feathers to make sure they're arranged properly. I don't have feathers, but I do have leg hair, and so that's what they're preening. This is an argument. It's exactly what it looks like. Flamingos are gregarious birds, so they like to be in large flocks with one another, but they also bicker all the time, and that's very normal. So we let them just kind of do their thing, and there are some troublemakers that are a little worse about starting fights than others. Cayenne is not a troublemaker. Aji, who's over to your right, is not a troublemaker. Habanero, for sure. Ghost, for sure. And then Poblano, as perfect as he is, he can be a real troublemaker.
He did have some things to say earlier today, I was noticing.
He kind of just blindly moves through the yard and just knocks other birds out of his way. So I'm not sure that it's intentional or he's just,
Maybe he just doesn't have good spatial awareness?
Yeah. He's cute either way, so it's fine. So all of these birds, like I mentioned before, are just about 9 months of age. So they still have quite a bit of growing to do as far as getting that pink coloration. But as far as other development goes, they're about as tall as they'll be when they're full grown. And they have pretty much all the weight on them that they need. Here he comes. Hi, Poblano. Just making your way in. Hi. That's just,
It is what it is.
That's what they do, yeah.
And Barbara just said that her cat just ran away from watching. Which, Barbara, I totally understand. I was editing some flamingo video yesterday and my cat was not here for it.
Not happy. So these chicks are ambassador animals, so they live behind the scenes. We're actually in there behind the scenes holding right now. Pre-pandemic, they were coming out with us all around the zoo and walking around so people could see them. You may have seen them up at our veterinary hospital where they were when they were really young and being hand raised. They travel off-site with us to our outreach programs. They're busy, busy birds. Right now, because we can't have visitors at the zoo just yet, they're actually doing some virtual tours. So you can check out our virtual tours on the Nashville Zoo website, and you can actually sign up to get a chance to see these guys in a tour, which is really fun.
And that link for you guys is in the description of this video, so check it out.
Way to go, Kelsey.
I'm trying.
So yeah, they're really cool birds, and as soon as we're back open, which is June 15th is the projected opening date for members, June 18th for non-members, we hope that you'll be able to see our Chilean flamingos out on walks again real soon. We're really excited to have them back out and running around. Just like why? I don't know, because that's what they do,
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. All right. They're just fighting away. So flamingos in the wild. Excuse me.
We're trying to talk
We're
here.
trying to talk about your conservation.
But again, conservation is loud.
Conservation is noisy. You're right. Poblano. Sometimes I can like break it up. Poblano, what are you doing? He's too busy.
That's fine.
Just ignore him, everyone. So flamingos in the wild do definitely face a lot of different things. The one for the Chilean flamingo in particular is lithium mining. And when they're mining for lithium, which is a metal that's used in a lot of our like cell phone batteries and stuff like that, unfortunately there's a lot of chemicals that are runoff from the lithium mining, and those chemicals make their way into the waterways and all the way up the food web. So they affect humans and animals. So to help the people out down in South America, and eventually that also helps the flamingos out, one really easy thing that we can all do is A, recycle our lithium batteries, and B, if you don't need a new phone, like if your phone's not broken, maybe wait a year before getting like the next new phone. Because that, like the culture of us like always just like throwing our phones away after 2 years, even if they're not really dying, means that there's more need or more value in lithium production.
Can I help you?
Chalaka's just like, hey, this is a cute little thing that I'm gonna bite on. Good for you, Chalaka. So those are some of the easy ways that you can help out Chilean flamingos in the wild. And we talked a lot about some like fast facts about flamingos last time when we were talking about Caribbean flamingos. So I kind of wanted to just give people an opportunity to ask more questions today, Kelsey, if we have any.
Yeah, Teresa's wondering, they seem to have a higher pitched squawk compared to the Caribbean flamingos. Is this due to their young age, or is that a species thing?
A little bit of both. They definitely have come into their voices and they've deepened up over time. But flamingos, just like humans, all have unique voices. So we can actually tell our chicks apart just based on the noises that they make. They're just like, they're like the movie Mean Girls, where they're like, you can't sit with us. But it like changes. Like it'll be
right.
Like, you can't sit, oh, okay, now you can.
Like 2 seconds from now, maybe yes.
What are you doing? Are you causing trouble? Yeah? Yeah?
Ooh, Nora, that is such a good question. Nora, age 8, wants to know if they are at all related to ostriches, since they have both have super long legs.
That's a really great question. Flamingos are not related to ostriches, although they do kind of look a lot like them because they're so long-legged. Ostriches are related to things like emus and the cassowary that we have here at the zoo. Flamingos are in a family all their own. Hi. Yeah.
Excuse you.
Chalaka just wants to get real close.
She's just, well, I didn't even realize that I have someone behind me
Yeah.
until, like, I got backed into.
Yeah.
So,
They're real comfortable.
let's see. Ashley says, my dog is so confused by this noise. He keeps looking to the sky.
It is a weird noise,
true.
that's for sure.
Rhonda wants to know, why is that one bird rubbing on his leg and shaking like that? Does that mean something? I think this was a few minutes ago, so I'm not sure.
They'll like randomly like habanero over here, well, and like even Jalapeno's doing it right now. They like rub on themselves like this. That's preening, so they're just like cleaning themselves off. Oftentimes they'll get like little specks of dirt from their yard on their legs, and then they'll like go to like take that off. I didn't see what you're talking about.
I think
Rhonda,
it might be like
sure.
when they like work on the dead skin around their knee or
They'll
ankle.
do that. Yeah, their ankle there. Yeah, they'll definitely do that too. Exfoliation is key for all of us. You
It's
know?
true. It's true. How long would these guys stay in the care of their mothers in the wild?
Typically, because flamingos are flock animals, they're going to be with their parents for like a decent length of time, just because there's nowhere else to go. Like they're not going to go start their own flock like some mammals might do. Like when they are weaned, they kind of go off on their own and do their own thing. Flamingos don't really do that. They're just like, oh, now I'm part of the flock. So they would stay with their parents for a decent length of time, but they wean close to about 4 months of age either way. So they're like done getting all the necessary nutrients from their parents around 4 months of age. Most of our birds, some of them were a little more tricky than others. Most of them weaned pretty quickly, which is good.
Jake, you mentioned this at the beginning, but can we go back and just repeat what these guys eat?
Yeah, so Chilean flamingos eat a ton of tiny plants and animals like phytoplankton and algae, and they filter those foods from the really salty water where they live. Here at the zoo, we feed them a pelleted diet, which gets them all the nutrients that they need without us needing to like culture algae and plankton and stuff like that to feed them. And they also get krill, which is a tiny little form of shrimp, and they like to eat that krill for sure. All of those foods have carotenoid pigments, which are the pink, red, and orange pigments, and that's how the flamingos get their bright pink color.
And you mentioned this a little earlier too, but Susie's wondering, will they become more pink as they get older?
Yep, so all of the 6 species of flamingos hatch out white, then they turn gray and white and black, and then it takes up to 3 years for them to get fully pink. So they have a lot of pink to get still. I know. Come here. Hi. Hi, baby.
Jake, Scott is wondering, how do flamingos control their necks like that? Is it all muscle? And you told me about this when we were doing the Caribbean Flamingo Live a few weeks ago, and you blew my mind. So let's drop that knowledge again.
So they have 19 different bones in their neck. We only have 7 cervical vertebrae. They have 19, which means that they have many more articulations, so areas where bones connect to one another, and that allows them to create a lot more movement and flexibility in their necks. Similarly, like an owl can turn its neck about 270 degrees either direction. They have 13 or so bones in their necks, so basically with birds, the more bones they have in their neck, the more flexible their necks are, and that allows them to kind of wade in the water and then stretch their beak out and grab things. It also allows them to fight with each other like they're doing right behind you. And then it also allows them, when they sleep, they typically like to be standing up and turn their neck all the way around and stick their head in between their 2 wings on their backs. And you may have seen that in our Caribbean flamingos on exhibit before when they take a nap. They definitely will curve their head all the way back around. What's going on here?
Stella, age 6, wants to know, why do they sometimes stand on one leg and put a foot out?
Hi,
like
Stella. Yeah,
this.
So, like Jalapeno's showing us right now. Generally speaking, when it's hot like this, they don't really want to pull that leg all the way up, because this leg being exposed to the air is still going to be cooler than the internal body temperature, especially under all those feathers and right up next to the body. So that allows the cooler air that's outside to circulate around the leg and cool the blood down, which eventually cools the leg down, or the whole body down, if you follow what I'm saying.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Much similarly, like if you or I like fan ourselves, that cools us down externally, and eventually that can cool us down internally. Flamingos can't fan themselves, so they keep their legs exposed for that reason. But standing on one leg is a really great way to save energy and be able to like not have to blow through as much of your food energy as if you were standing on 2 legs.
I think
for
it's
flamingos, not for us. That's
right.
sweet.
I'm also getting preened by 4 flamingos right now.
So sweet.
I'm surrounded.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay. I think it's important too, Jake, for us to talk about like, woo! That's all right. We're good. We're gonna shake that one
I
off.
can't tell who's behind you, but he just went for a he, and she said, I don't want to do that, so she left.
We talked about how last time about how they're actually like what you think is a backwards knee is their ankle,
Yeah.
and like Jen, our flamingo keeper, made the analogy of like they're standing on their tippy toes all day, and it would like that's another reason why they might take up their foot, because
spot on,
that's
yeah.
hard.
Can we not fight in front of the camera? Yeah, so right here, what we think of are like feet. Certainly that's a part of his feet, but these are actually his toes. This is his main foot here. These are ankles, and then further up here under all these feathers is their actual knee. So flamingos are just built really weirdly, which is kind of cool. The webbed feet allow them to wade on top of mud and through water, and then also swim if they're in deeper water and need to paddle. But it's really cool if you pay attention when Poblano picks his feet up. That was so perfect, thank you.
Good timing.
It curves all the way up, and that way, if they're walking through water, they're not trying to like paddle against the current while they're walking. It creates less surface area with which to hold onto the water. Right near my ear? Is that necessary?
Let's see. Mary wants to know if their diet is different than the other flock of flamingos.
They have the same kind of diet. Yeah, someone's playing with your hair back there, Kelsey.
It feels good.
I think that might be Ghost, our big boy.
Oh.
What are you doing? Yeah, so they get the same diet as our Caribbean flamingos.
Let's see. Tanya wants to know, how is Ahi doing?
He's doing great. She's right here. Just hanging out.
Zion wants to know, Jake, and this is a myth you can debunk, do these guys mate for life?
So flamingos are definitely one of those animals that are selectively monogamous. So if they find a mate and both work out really well, they can definitely be monogamous and have the same mate for life. But if something goes wrong, or if the male can't produce viable sperm, or the female doesn't feel like helping out with nesting, they can be like, peace out, I'm gonna go find another mate. Typically speaking, flamingos work really hard together to build a nest. They build a mound out of mud and clay and poop, and then they lay the egg. The female does the egg laying, but then the male and female take turns sitting on the nest and feeding the baby.
So they're collaborative parents.
Exactly, they're very collaborative. The males and females both can secrete crop milk, which is a protein-based liquid that they secrete from a muscular pouch here at the base of their throat.
I think that answers your question, Laura, about how and what do the parents feed them to.
Yeah,
so good job knocking that one out.
What's really cool is the crop milk is bright red, so it almost looks like they're dribbling blood into their chicks' mouths. It's not blood, it's crop milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe not the cutest feeding in the world,
Right.
but
No.
good. Let's see.
The only reason I'm separating these two right now is because it's really loud in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing anything wrong. You're just being noisy.
Jake, can we talk about age? I saw a question about how old are these guys, and
I know.
then like what is their lifespan?
Yeah, so these chicks are all just about 9 months old. This one who's right in front of you, Kelsey, is a he, and she was born at the end, or she hatched at the end of July of last year, so she's almost coming up on her birthday here. And then the rest of our chicks are a little bit behind her. Our younger ones, right here, Chalaka's one of our youngest. They're only about a month and a half behind a he. Flamingos can live upwards of 40 or 50 years in human care as well as in the wild, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Hi. I know.
Colin wants to know how many are boys versus girls?
I should know the number right off the top of my head. Ghost behind you is a boy, so that's 1. Poblano, Jalapeno, Habanero.
Taking a quick survey.
I think we have 4 and 4.
Oh, that's exciting.
Me, Chalaka, Paprika, Cayenne girls. Yeah, 4 and 4.
Cool.
What's really cool, Kelsey, we can share that we're actually growing our flock this year. So really soon we're going to introduce 4 more flamingos to our Chilean flamingo flock. They're actually birds that were up at the Columbus Zoo, and they're coming down here soon and then going to join our flock. So we'll have our 8 chicks, and then we have 4 adults who are going to be joining our flock to make a flock of 12, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and those adults are obviously going to look a lot different, right, Jake?
Yeah. So Ghost, who's behind you, is our brightest chick right now. And I don't
Excuse me.
think it shows up super well in camera.
It kind of does.
Videos and stuff. Typically, they're a lot brighter in person, and especially like under the sun, they get really bright in color. We can perceive it a lot better. But the adults are really gorgeous birds, and we're excited to add those kids to our family. I actually had the privilege of working with them a while back when I worked at the Columbus Zoo, so I'm excited to see them again. It'll be nice and have them meet the babies. Yeah.
Stella wants to know, why are they so noisy, Jake?
You know, Stella, that's just a flamingo thing. If you think about when you've come to the zoo before, you've probably never gone to our Caribbean flamingo exhibit and had them not be noisy. That's just how flamingos are. In the wild, they can group in flocks into the thousands, and they're very, very noisy and smelly altogether, for sure.
That would definitely be super loud.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in that group or sitting in the middle of a group of thousands.
Exactly, yeah.
Excuse
so
you.
When we come in the morning, they get brought inside overnight for their safety, and then first thing in the morning, I open the door and I'm like, do y'all want to go outside, please? And they're like, sure. And then they can all go be noisy outside, and I close the door so I can clean in relative peace.
In relative
Yeah,
peace.
relative.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Barbara wants to know, how old are they when they breed? Like, what's that maturity age?
Sexual maturity is closer to 4 or 5 years of age.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we've got a bit to go now.
Some time, and typically flamingos don't breed in human care unless they're in a massive group.
Oh, really?
I doubt that we're going to try to breed our Chilean flamingos. Like, having 12 will be plenty for our flock to be, like, healthy and well and happy. I love flamingos. I don't need more flamingos at this point. Like,
We have a few.
12 will be plenty. Unless they're lesser flamingos, and then I'll take them.
In case you haven't tuned into one of our flamingo lives before, lesser flamingos are Jake's favorite flamingo, and he...
Oh my gosh, hold on, that was so rude.
That was very rude. Okay.
That was just
Let's
to
see.
walk the walking.
Um,
Hi, baby. You okay?
when will we be able to see these guys out in the park? Do we know that yet?
You know, I don't really know.
I don't think so either.
My supervisors right now who are in the behavioral husbandry department, we're the ones who do a lot of the on-site encounters with the animals. So if you see animals walking around or people walking around with the animals, that's usually us. We do the shows here on grounds and the outreaches off-site. So they're working right now with our executive team to formulate plans for animal encounters once the zoo opens back up. Last week, you just have to keep them an arm's length apart from each other and they're quiet. So we're working right now to formulate plans for that, but we need to do everything as safe as possible for the animals, for the guests, and for the staff. So I'm not sure when we'll have the Chilean flamingos out on grounds, but again, if you're jonesing to see them, you can check them out in a virtual tour. They went behind me because I knew I could.
Exactly. Your arms don't bend that way. Kristen, I think I'm gonna reword your question, and I hope I get the gist of it. But why do we see grown flamingos walk back and forth in a large group? So when they all move in the same direction.
Yeah, so they do what's called flagging, which is like a very much like a display behavior. And flamingos do a lot of different display behaviors. Right when Kelsey and I walked in this morning, Jalapeno, who's right over here up on one leg, he stood up really, really tall and he flapped his wings really aggressively. It's not an aggressive display, it's just showing, it's A, stretching, and then B, showing like, hey, I'm here, I'm big, and I'm tough. So flamingos do a lot of different things to communicate to one another and to us. So the flagging can be a courtship display, it also can just be like a communication, like, hey, there's food over here, we're excited. It really just depends.
Let's see.
You can't be doing that.
Zion wants to know, how fast can flamingos fly?
They can fly pretty fast. In the wild, flamingos don't have to fly too terribly often because they're usually only moving from one place to another to find new food sources. But they can fly about 300 miles in one night, which is pretty impressive. Right? You're pretty impressive.
Sorry, I'm scrolling back up to make sure we got all your questions.
Fine.
Let's see. Kathleen wants to know, does the zoo hatch eggs?
We are new to... Can you not? You're creating so many issues. I know, but you're so cute. So we actually have never had flamingos lay eggs here at the zoo that were viable. These Chilean flamingos all hatched from eggs here at the zoo, but they came to us as eggs from a couple other zoos. So as of right now, no, we don't have flamingos that have hatched from eggs that were laid here.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated answer.
Yeah.
And before I worked here, I never even thought about the fact that we would move eggs from facility to facility.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot easier to move an egg than it is to move
A bird.
an adult bird. I can eat. found the culprit. Update, it's Habanero. He's the common denominator today. He's great.
Well, I'm glad we found that common thread.
Yeah.
Let's see. Teresa says, looks like you have some new friends. Girl, you're right.
Oh my gosh, Ghost.
And kind of on that same note, Leanne...
Ghost, you're supposed to be showing how cute and sweet you are.
Leanne says, are they usually comfortable around humans in the wild, or is it just at the zoo?
Not in the wild, no. You guys are horrid. They're all such nice chicks, I promise. This is just what they do. They're not being bad at all. They're just being noisy and being flamingos. In the wild, and certainly in a lot of other zoos that don't have a lot of hand-raised birds, they're not really people-oriented. These birds do not care where we are or what we're doing. They just live their lives with us involved. Hi. You be okay?
I mean, they literally don't care that I'm sitting here. Like, I can't even show you guys how close these guys are. No sense of personal space.
No. Boys.
Amelia says, are flamingos ever a different color than pink?
No, so they all hatch out white, they grow up a little gray and black and white, like our chicks are right now, and then they get pink. Yep, nothing exciting, no greens or blues.
Although, wouldn't that be interesting?
How cool would that be, a green flamingo? No, it's all about the pink.
We do love the pink. I wore my pink shirt today.
Oh, cute.
Jake, I was noticing your cute shirt, though.
Yeah, I have this tiger shirt that I got at the gift shop, and you can actually get gift shop stuff online right now at shop.nationalzoo.org. And that helps us out during this time where we're not able to have guests at the zoo.
Yep. But we're looking forward to seeing you guys back here soon. We'll be open to members June 15th and to everyone else June 18th. For more information about our reopening and all that goes along with that, you can check out our website. The info is right there for you on the homepage.
Nice.
Jake, I don't see any more questions, but I know you haven't gotten to talk about your favorite kind of flamingos yet, so do you want to chit-chat about that?
I love talking about lesser flamingos. They're the best flamingos. So I mentioned a while ago that flamingos are found all around the world. And there are a couple species that are found over in Africa, Asia, and Europe. And the lesser flamingo in particular lives mostly in Africa. They range up a little bit north out of Africa, but primarily in Africa. And those birds live a really, really crazy, dangerous life. They are dealing with insanely high temperatures, well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They live out on these dry... Poblano!
Hey!
Hello? Do you just come over here and love me? Anyway... so they live in these really dry habitats with just the salt water. It's fraught with danger and predators, but they survive every year. So we're not sponsored by Disney Plus, but there's a really cool documentary called The Crimson Wing on Disney Plus that you can check out about lesser flamingos. And they live in a habitat that's similar to the ones that other flamingos live in. It's really desolate and hard to live in, and they make it. So I definitely recommend checking that out. And if you stop at like minute 42, you won't have to see the flamingos get eaten by a bunch of predators and perish in other ways. Pro tip.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we're all about those pro tips.
Yeah.
Joe wants to know how exactly do the shrimp make the feathers pink?
So basically pigments, which are found in a lot of food items, can manifest in skin and in feathers. And so you see that a lot in birds. They'll be eating different things. They extract the pigments when they're digesting the food. The pigments get deposited into the feathers, and over time those pigments build up and make those pink feathers pink. Poblano just untied my shoe. That's rude.
See, I'm glad I didn't wear shoelaces.
Exactly, smart. Similarly to like if you feed a baby a lot of carrots, you might see like a little orange showing up in a baby's face or forehead. Same idea. Pigments are just like deposited into skin cells and feathers.
Julie wants to know, do they ever lay more than one egg at a time?
No, so flamingos very, very, very rarely will double clutch, which is like to have 2 eggs inside the mom. Almost 100% of the time they lay 1 egg. And they're very fickle because we mentioned earlier that they're incredible parents and they take really good care of their young. But at the same time, when they're building their nest mound, they lay the egg on that, they incubate it on that. If that egg were to be like knocked out by one of the parents, like if it just like rolled out of the nest, they won't care for it. It's like, it's gone. It moved 2 inches out of the way. It's too bad, so sad, goodbye. It's a really fascinating thing that we've seen in the wild and in human care. Like flamingos will just like randomly be like, oh no, it fell.
That's really random.
For all the hard work that they do to build
Right.
the nest and have the egg and raise the chicks that they do, when they choose not to, it's like very bizarre.
You guys were doing so well.
I know, it's hard for flamingos to be quiet. That's just all like...
Scarlett says, this has been the best Take a Break with Jake all year.
They're so sweet. I love these birds.
Oh my gosh, I agree.
I just sat out here and everybody was like fighting over cleaning me. It was like, it's the best feeling ever. Like, you don't need friends if you have flamingos.
Right.
Right.
You just feel so loved.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, let me make sure real quick. Sarah, I agree, Tony is quite cute.
Tony the hyacinth?
Yes,
Yeah.
she said, this is random, but is there going to be another live stream of Tony? Girl, maybe. We'll see what we can do.
You gotta watch that Instagram replay. I think you posted it, right, Kelsey?
Yes. Well, it's on Instagram TV.
Okay.
It was 50 minutes long.
Incredible, yeah.
But my favorite moment happens at the 6-minute mark when Tony face plants off of his perch. It was good
Not
stuff.
paying attention.
He was not.
Yeah, we'll have to get Tony out here again.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think we've answered everything else, Jake. If you want to send us out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for Take a Break with Jake. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. on Facebook.
Yep. 11:30?
11:30.
I don't know.
Kelsey's going to post about it tomorrow morning, so check that out. And we're going to be seeing our spider monkeys at one of our spider monkey keepers. So we're really excited about that. And then we'll be back next week with more content. Thanks for joining us today, everybody, and we hope you have a safe and beautiful day.